All right, guys. Another podcast ready to get underway. But first of all, how was your St. Patty's Day weekend? I've noticed it was an entire weekend, not just one day. There you go.
I didn't realize I had this on until you started saying that. Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about it, I don't know, last night or the day before, my wife and I. And, I think we do this probably almost every year. We're like, oh, yeah, it is St. Patty's Day. When we start talking about, do the kids have something green to wear to school?
Right.
Or, are we going to do something fun in the morning, make it look like a leprechaun came and visited? We start talking about that stuff now. And then we go back and like, isn't it crazy how different St. Patty's Day is now? Like we used to be the waking up at 6, 7 a.m. going to Kegs and Eggs or, trying to find whatever bar has the green beer and, doing all that kind of stuff. And now it's just, nope, trying to figure out if we can make it look like a leprechaun came and visited our house and the kids have green shirts. But yeah, it kind of, when it falls on a Monday, it does kind of turn into a whole weekend thing. It's
Right.
kind of, I almost wish it was college time because that would make, with March Madness and tournaments and college basketball, it'd make for a fun weekend.
Yeah, I remember back in the day when Jordan Poole hit that shot versus Houston. That was like that was when right in my prime years of college. I think I was like 19 years old at Central Michigan. Whole weekend of partying. I think St. Patrick's Day fell on a Saturday that year, that exact day. So I just remember the bar going absolutely nuts when he made that shot. I didn't even watch it. I was like, what the hell happened? Dude, he just I was chasing other things rather than watching the tournament. But this past weekend I was in East Lansing for the high school state finals, which more to come on that later. But I mean, talk about a perfect weekend for a college kid, which is what we just had. 65 degrees. The weather finally turned. It's St. Patrick's Day falls on a Monday, like you guys said, for a college kid. Okay, in other words, I got 3 days of drinking right in a row: Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And just as I was driving around, dude, every time I'm in East Lansing for this weekend every year, it energizes me. It also depresses me. The kids walking around, everyone's got on green, everyone's got on, different jerseys. Everyone's got these things called Borgs, which are basically these, water gallons that are just mixing all sorts of alcohol. And I don't even know what's in them, to be honest. That's already past my time. But yeah, I was just jealous watching all these kids walking around, man. It never makes me feel younger being on East Lansing, Michigan State's campus, and it never makes me feel older, or it makes me feel older every time I'm doing it. It made me think, though, like in terms of hidden gem cities, to me, I would live in East Lansing, I think, over just about anywhere in the state of Michigan. I love being there. It's the perfect mix of a big town or a big city, but also not too big. Like when I'm in Ann Arbor, I feel like I'm like a fish out of water. Maybe it's because everybody's a little bit smarter, but like when I'm there, I'm like, this is not me. But when I'm in East Lansing, it's like, this is home. This is just like, almost like a extended version of Corona. I don't know if that's just me that has that feeling, but one, do you guys feel that way toward East Lansing? And then two, is there maybe a certain city that you guys really enjoy? I would call a hidden gem, almost like East Lansing.
Well, East Lansing, I mean, I tend to agree with you. I'd take it a little further. The Michigan State campus is just as gorgeous as it gets. I mean, nothing wrong with Michigan either, but just there's something about MSU and all the trees, the architecture, and the way it's laid out. I do like that. The river, exactly. About another city like that, I'll have to give that a little thought. What do you think, Matt, about MSU and East Lansing?
I mean, yeah, I'm biased to Ann Arbor because I'm a Michigan fan, so that's going to, lead the way. But I can 100% admit, I mean, I spent a ton of time similar to you guys in East Lansing, hanging out at MSU, going to basketball games, football games, tailgating, going to parties and stuff. And it's a great college town. I always think of stuff like, when you go on vacation somewhere and you're like, we got to move here. We got to move here. You got to try and take a step back and be like, listen, we're on vacation. This isn't real life. Let's settle down a little bit. I almost think about that maybe with the experience that you just had. You were on a fun weekend, state finals weekend and St. Patty's.
Right.
Would it be the same if it was your day-to-day, every day, driving into college traffic, every day doing this stuff?
Right.
Maybe not. Maybe it would be. I don't know. But, that's the one thing I think of. Living in a college town when you're not a college student, I don't know if it would be the same. Maybe it would.
It wouldn't, but there's something about these kids just like walking around. It's like there's energy in this town.
Right.
I don't know. I go walk outside here and it's like, man, it's like people want to like blow their brains out. They're so like depressed. It feels like sometimes. But when you're on a college campus, you don't have that vibe.
Right.
It's like everybody's having a good time. I will say it annoys me every year. I forget about this. They own the town. They own the roads. You're just a traveler
right.
on the road. They walk wherever they want. They don't wait for you. They cut you off. Like, for example, like I was sitting at a stop sign trying to turn right, or I was pulling up to it, and this guy like basically took like a 45-degree angle off the walking path. So I had to slam on my brakes so he could like take a shortcut across the road. I'm like, dude, there's a walking path. Like, you shouldn't be making the driver stop so you can get to your location 5 seconds earlier. I don't know. That's one thing that I will say would drive me nuts is it's their road, it's their town, it's their show. You abide by their rules.
Well, I remember hearing one of the first things I was told when I went to Grand Valley, and you guys probably heard the same thing. Hey, if you cross the road and you get hit by a car, that person has to pay for your tuition the whole time you're at Grand Valley. And I was like, is that for real? And so everyone was like, yeah. If you get hit by a car crossing the road, they have to pay your tuition. So I don't know if that's actually true. I don't know if anyone's ever tried to cash in on that, but I feel like that and then the girl to guy ratio were the first two things that people told me when.
That is like the fun fact of Grand Valley. Oh, it's like 3 girls to every guy. There definitely is some truth to that. It seems somewhat exaggerated.
Right. I feel like when I was there, people were saying it was like 7-1.
Right.
Well, another question on St. Patty's Day, and I will say this: when you throw East Lansing in with Lansing, the greater Lansing area, it is a very solid area. But you talked about a little bit, Matt, when you were in college, it was like get up in the morning. I remember, basically you're my kid's age, really. And when they were at MSU, especially Amy, it was like you got to be in line, ready to hit that bar right when it opens. And they open like what, 6 o'clock in the morning, something like that.
Yeah.
Jared, I don't know if you participated in that as much, but that's kind of a generational thing. Because when I was younger, in college age, it was just all kind of geared to the evening. It wasn't lining up during the day. I guess there was some of that maybe around lunchtime, but there was none of this 6 a.m. stuff getting in line to get a table.
Yeah.
I saw a TikTok literally of this couple that did a like 4 a.m. to 4 a.m. St. Patrick's Day. And TikTok literally wouldn't let them post like the last hour of it because like it's probably dangerous as hell. So like, yeah, it is weird. I've never understood that, man. Like I remember, I was talking about that weekend I had, at Central Michigan, whatever, 2019, 2018 or something like that. And that was what they would do. You'd wake up and you'd hit the bars at, basically 9 a.m. They'd have an outdoor tent set up. And I remember like the debate in our friend group was like, all right, let's go. Everybody get up, get geared up. Let's go. And like half the crew was like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, just chill. Like, let's go get some lunch. Let's watch some basketball for a little bit. We got tonight. You're going to run out of steam by the time you get to, nighttime if you go out now. So I've never understood that. I also am impressed by people who can do that. It's never been how I operated.
It was definitely the kegs and eggs was definitely a big thing. That's probably what you're talking about. And Amy would go to an East Lansing or just green beer. You probably go to the bars downtown and just drink the green beer. Was green beer a thing back in your day?
Yeah,
I know yours for sure, Jared. But Ted, was it for you?
There was green beer. Yeah,
okay.
Green beer to be had for sure.
Yeah. The worst part about green beer, not to be too TMI, but is the day after. If you go for a full day of drinking green beer, the day after when you're in the bathroom is a little bit like, what happened? What the hell just happened to me?
Dude, that's gross, man.
Or that night if you had
or that night, right.
That would be nasty. I know Amy's big go-to was Rick's in East Lansing, so shout out to Rick's. Speaking of bars for St. Patty's Day, here locally, a big fire in Vernon at Sherman's Irish Pub. Here they are. They're gearing up for a big St. Patty's Day celebration, and a fire breaks out half hour before they're scheduled to open up. I don't know any details other than the place is destroyed. The roof's
it was
gone.
A morning fire, is what you're saying? It happened in the morning?
Yeah, it was like reported at 11:30 a.m. on Sunday. Yeah.
What is going on with this county, man? Some people are saying there's an arsonist in this county. Why is there? It's like anytime a restaurant is any good whatsoever, it's almost like there's some competitor up the road that's lighting places on fire. It's like, what is going on? Like, it's a great bar, great restaurant. Vernon is a nice little downtown area. Has there been any explanation to what the hell happened?
Way too early to tell, I think. We haven't. I mean, we'll hear more about it. My guess is just a gut guess. Probably not an arson situation. Maybe a faulty wire or something. Who knows? But that's just a wild guess.
Yeah. It's just sad.
Yeah, it
dude.
sucks because that's probably that's their time to shine right there. St. Patty's Day weekend, So
yeah, why would you? I mean, if you're going to burn a place down, and again, all hypothetical stuff,
later,
you'd wait till after the big payday, right?
Right. No, I mean, I'm not even joking. I think that's like, I always remember hearing like stats like that, like Thanksgiving Eve and St. Patrick's Day. It's like that's like half your business almost. I feel like I've heard stats like that before. So
yeah. One final thing before we move on, I'll just slide it in our catch-up portion. John Feinstein passed away at 69, a former guest on the program. Matt, it was great. You jumped right on it, posted that interview. I listened to it. Jared will remember we were having a little difficulty in getting some audio quality back when we were recording at the radio station, but I re-listened to it. That's a pretty damn good interview, I thought. He was cool. Yeah,
I remember. Yeah. Well, first of all, it's sad to hear that he passed away. I happened to see, I don't know, probably a couple people tweet that out, and I was like, oh man, we had him on. I'm gonna go share that. But yeah, so obviously sad to see that news. But I remember when we went to record that you guys, it was when we were still recording at the radio station. Yep. One, big interview. I mean, that was a big interview to get him. I mean, he's a very well-renowned, author and many other things. So it was like, all right, we got to be on this. Let's get this, make sure it's good. We couldn't get him latched or, something. There were just some issues with it, but we ended up kind of getting it. But then also, and I've seen other people talk about, like people, Wilbon and Kornheiser talked about him on PTI. And I saw some other people talk about him, just, how great he was and all that kind of stuff, but also how there was a side to him that like could come off pretty, maybe like dry. And I feel like we got that side of him a little bit in the interview, because I remember there were a few times in the interview we were like, there was some silence, like, all right, where are we going with this?
Well, he wasn't a big Mitch Albom fan. I will throw that out.
That part, yeah. So no, it was
I'll be honest. That's the only part of that interview I remember is the very end. When did we cut that out or did that stay in?
No. It actually. I hit a nerve without a doubt. He made his comment, and I just kind of segued out of it real quick. Troll that I am,
right. Yeah, he didn't say anything too like bad. It was clear though that
he didn't like Mitch Albom for it was just it wasn't even like you just said something like, yeah, like you're a good writer. We got a couple others. Mitch Albom is one, and then I think it struck a nerve with him.
Oh, it did. Well, then there was a controversy that I had forgotten all about.
Right.
But anyway, he was definitely a big time talent and gone at 69, way too young, right, for my generation. Well, let's keep this thing rolling along, guys. This is episode 352 of the 3 Point Podcast. We're presented every single week by Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center. Make sure you follow them on Facebook. You can find out everything that's going on in that awesome workout facility and more. Also want to thank our other partners. They include AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Shook & Associates Real Estate Services, Rivals Taphouse and Grille. I think they're going to be hopping for some March Madness. Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, Shiawassee County Fair, and ALS of Michigan. We'll get the show going officially, and we'll start with the Prep Spotlight coming up right after this. All right, Jared, you laid into it a little bit. By the way, this is the Prep Spotlight presented by the Jacobs Insurance Agency. It was state final weekend at Breslin Arena, and just to kind of set it up a little bit, I was thinking about it. I was going to tweet something about it. Man, Saturday really, to me, was the official start of March Madness. You had the 2 Big Ten semifinal games. You had the 4 state championship games at Breslin, and it just kind of led into the championship game in the Big Ten on Sunday, the selection Sunday show. And now, we got games on Tuesday night we're recording, but I thought Saturday was, to me, the official start of it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I'd even go one more. I'd say Friday, with the Class A and Class B, all 4 of those games. Yeah, those are good as well. Real quick, I just throw this out there. I don't even know. It's a hot topic of debate. We've talked about it a million times, so let's not spend maybe 10 minutes on it. But so with all these games being played, and I will break down each game individually quickly coming up, but the private versus public school thing. There's some statistics out there about how good these teams are and how they win the titles every year. And I get it. I get why people are upset about it. To me, is it worth like basically trying to railroad like entire school districts and schools because your public school team didn't beat them? No, it's like, to me, listen, your favorite movie, Uncle Ted, is Hoosiers, right? That's you love that sports movie.
Yep.
How good of a movie would that be if when they finally make it to the championship game and instead of the 10-foot rim speech, Gene Hackman writes a strongly worded email about how it's not fair that they're playing against a private school. It's like, what are we doing? Not everything is about how many games we can win and how many state titles we can stack. It's about life. Sports are about life. You play these games, you play them the best of your ability, you live with the result, and you move on. Like, Matt, your team, great team, in both football and basketball. This is the reality of high school sports in our state. Is there's a lot of private schools out there. I mean, I don't know. I live down here in Detroit area. Ted, if you had a grandson that was living in this area, I know you have granddaughters. Chances are he's probably going to go to an Orchard Lake St. Mary's. He's probably going to go to a Brother Rice. That is what these schools are down here, and they are competing against each other. It's like the private school league that's down here is some of the best basketball in the state. There's some of the best football in the state year after year. To me, what is the crazy advantage? I know that they can quote unquote recruit, which they can. What is this crazy advantage that private schools have over other kids? There's no advantage. You know what the advantage should be is, did they spend more time in the gym? Did they practice harder? Were they shooting 100 shots a day? More likely than not, they're not winning these games because it's a private school. They're winning these games because flat out they're better players. They're more deserving. They're more deserving to be a champ. I don't care whether they came from here or there or whatever. At the end of the day, they put in that work. They deserve it. I don't understand why it's like if automatically if a public school loses to a private school, it's like the whole game is rigged and it's not fair. You guys had the same amount of time to get ready for this game as the private school team did. How about this? You have advantages. You guys, as a public school, think about Corona football 2-3 years ago. Those kids have been playing together since they were in first grade. What an advantage that is. You're playing against essentially an NBA team that's slapped together, maybe at most they have 4 years together. You guys have had a whole lifetime of memories of playing together, of learning your strengths and weaknesses, of being able to work together and get better as a group. This is not a private school, public school issue. This is, you didn't play hard enough, quote unquote, as Mike Krzyzewski told JJ Redick his sophomore year too. You were not worthy to be a champion. That's why you were not a champion. Thoughts on that? I mean, this is a big topic of debate every year around this time.
Go ahead, Matt. Jared brings a hot take. Let's see what you got.
Jared's becoming very prophetic in his older age, talking about life and talking about, he's past the St. Patty's drinking green beer parties now. He just wants to deliver the message of
our little Jer Bear growing up.
That's life, is it not? I mean, right. Come on. You win games, you lose them. Matt, did your life end because you guys lost no, it's you move on. You had fun. The community supported you, and you move on with your life, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, when you look back on it, obviously, Jared, now you're a handful of years past high school. You're probably you still think about some of those losses, or you still think like, man, if we could have done this, we maybe could have made a state finals run, or, whatever. You still think about that. But really, what you think about are those relationships that you had with your friends, are the times that you had with the coaches, and, yes, the memories of like my basketball team making the run to Breslin and, everything like that. That's the stuff that really is long lasting. So what you're saying is 100% right. But like, that's the perspective of when you're 5, 6, 7, 20, 30, 40 years removed from playing. When you're in the moment and you're playing against a team that has 100 times the advantages of you, it's a little different now because a lot of public schools now do have a lot of the similar resources and advantages. But, like back in the day, even back 20 years ago when I played, one thing that Grand Rapids South Christian, the school that beat us in football and basketball, their facilities were just way better. I mean, we didn't have, yes, we had a weight room, but it was a little closet with a bunch of dumbbells that Ted was using back when he played. So no, we could have been we had stuff, but we didn't have the really super nice fitness facility, weight room that you guys had, obviously, Jared, when you played, and, that South Christian and some of these other schools have. That's just a little tiny thing. I'm not trying to say that's the reason, none of that stuff, but I've heard people say that resources and, access to certain camps or access to certain coaches or access to different things is one advantage that private schools can have over some public schools. Again, obviously now it's very different. A lot of public schools have the facilities and have different resources and stuff like that. But I've just heard people say that that's one thing that they point to. Private schools have basically all the money in the world to have all these facilities and do whatever they want. Public schools, not necessarily. So that's maybe where one advantage could be. But no, I think you're right. I mean, well, and then the obvious one, if you can poach and pick and choose who you want to come to your school, then, that's an advantage. But they're a school of choice. And my class benefited from school of choice.
Right.
So, that is still a thing. But
the public schools do not have the deep pockets like the private. Now, right. I understand both you guys' comments, and I agree with a lot of that. But you can't deny the fact that competitively, you can say all you want, Jared, about, practice harder, but you get 5-star athletes, especially in basketball, compared to public schools that grew up together. Maybe you don't want to trade all these memories, especially when you get older, like Matt said, but you got to admit that there is a competitive advantage to the private schools.
Here's the disconnect is, in Class A, this is not an issue to me. Right. These guys are all big boys. I mean, look at East Lansing, winning this weekend. The thing that, and I'm not going to say I'm not saying shut the schools down, but I am going to say it's these titles maybe don't mean as much. I think of a Wyoming Tri-Unity Christian. They've won 14 titles in Class D as a private school. Yeah, you get 1 or 2 D3 ballers, and you're probably going to win the state title in that division. You think about Lumen Christi in football, D7. Oh, you get 1, D2, D1 running back, and you're going to run roughshod. You're going to rush for 3,000 yards in a season and win every game by 40. To me, I guess maybe I somewhat am. I'm not saying that we need to shut down these schools. I'm saying, hey, me analyzing these state titles, they maybe don't mean as much as that Munising Class D from the UP. Whole community comes down here. They win the state title. You're looking around the crowd. Everybody's got tears in their eyes. That is worth 50 of those titles for some of these other schools. Mm-hmm. And it just is the reality. But to me, that's what makes it somewhat exciting. I think about back in my playing days, the chance to play a country day. Are you good enough to beat them or not? Are you a state championship team or not? We weren't. So that's why we lost. But it still is worthy of it's still fun to play that game and have that matchup and play the quote unquote big boys. You find out what you're made of.
Well,
the obvious one,
we're not made of that.
The obvious one, I know, Ted, you're jumping. The obvious one too is when Corona made the run to Ford Field. What you just said, Jared. Look on the Corona side, the whole town was there.
Right.
Look on the other side, Grand Rapids. Catholic Central, who's there basically every year.
Right.
Their side was half full. So that's kind of what you're talking about too, right there.
Yeah, and I was actually going to say, it's so much sweeter if you're a public school and knock off a power like that. There's no question about that. And it does happen. I don't know do you think it's a problem? Do you think, I think you brought it up before, Jared, and I tend to agree with it. If we're going to continue with the public schools playing the private schools, which obviously is going to happen, is it worthwhile maybe taking a look at taking their enrollment, bumping them up one spot?
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it. To me, was a powerful, and I've talked about it on this podcast before, Martin Luther King. I think they're a D4, enrollment.
Man, we're getting into Martin Luther King now.
We don't want to compete at the goddamn D4 level. We have NFL talent. Let's go up a division. Let's play D3. To me, it's how many state titles can a Lumen Christi win? How many state titles can a Wyoming Tri-Unity Christian win, man? Bump it up. That's the way I look at it. I don't think it's an issue for these Class A schools. I don't think it's an issue for these Grand Rapids Class B schools, man. They're about at the right level, and you live with it. But there is a little bit of exploiting the situation when you drop down to a Class C or you drop down to a Division 7, a Division 8. It's not fair at that level. One player swings the tide.
Right. Well, yeah, Lumen Christi football is one of the biggest examples. I mean, not saying it's unfair. Good for them for being as good of a program as they are, but it is kind of like you said, Jared, you get one really good quarterback and you're going to win a state championship at that level, So But right. So how do you decide that though? Because the biggest thing, like we've talked about before, the logistics from the MHSAA, you can't just do a private league, private school league, and then a public school league. That's just not going to work. So if you say, okay, private schools, if you're usually D7, okay, you're getting bumped up. But how do you decide that? Because what if enrollment really doesn't, justify moving up? Or I don't know, what would you decide? Like
that's why there is
median
no
income within the school or something. Would you have to use that? Like, how would you decide that? That
you can't. I don't think you can in a good way. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you could bump everybody up one division, and I don't hate that. But also, what's sweet? How about you just spank these teams, and then you can clown them on their way out? Like, I think about Riverview, Gabriel, Richard. I think they lost to Lumen Christi in basketball last year. They come back this year and spank them, and it's like that's more. Is that a better result for Riverview, Gable, or Richard to do that, or to just be like, oh, Lumen Christi, you're bumped up to Class B now. We don't got to worry about you. Right. What was the better lesson to be learned for that program, for that team, for those kids? No, keep working, come back, and we're going to beat these guys next year. I think that's a powerful message.
Well, we won't talk about it again until next year.
Come up next year.
Football season.
How about the games you were at, Jared?
Yeah, okay. So let's start with the actual game. So I mentioned Wyoming Tri-Unity Christian, Division 4. That was the first game of the weekend. Mark Keeler, he retired a champion head coach. I think he won 13 state titles. Pretty freaking amazing career. A good coach, a good guy. What's always impressed me about Wyoming Tri-Unity Christian, they reload every year. It's never just one stud. It's usually just a pretty solid team. 4 or 5 good players that play well. And to me, what makes a good coach? So think about this. Fowler, who lost to Tri-Unity Christian in the championship, and you guys covered them a lot, Ted. Fowler beat Tri-Unity Christian 2 days after their football season ended. I think it was like their first game of the season. And then fast forward to the Breslin Center, and Fowler never really was close. It felt like they were down by 20 the whole game when it was only maybe 10 points or so, but it just never really came close. So you talk about what makes a good coach, what makes a coach that's coached 38 years and won 13 state titles. Team got way, way better by the end of the year. And it's also hard to ignore the big time advantage that a Tri-Unity Christian has playing in 5 straight state championship games. That's pressure that you can't mold if you're at Fowler. And Fowler was a damn good squad.
They were, but you can't fall behind 11-0 to a program like that. It was all over pretty much by then. I mean, when you talk about Keeler, what a legend, man. 721 wins, 218 losses for his career. That's staggering.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I just want to shout out one player for Tri-Unity Christian who had a good game. Keaton Blanker, pretty well-rounded game. 12 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 steals. So he was the one that made him go. Onto the D1 game. I mean, wow, East Lansing, maybe the most athletic team I've ever seen at the high school ranks. I mean, numerous high flyers. They were led by Cam Hudson, son of former MSU national champion Andre Hudson. Impressive player, like 6'6", center/point forward at the high school level, just dominant. He's committed to St. Louis. He had some good quote from maybe a month ago when he wasn't named a Mr. Basketball finalist, basically something along the lines of, I'm going to show them who Mr. Basketball really is. And he ended up, showing them the semifinal game where they beat Orchard Lake St. Mary and Trey McKinney. A little bit of an upset, but in the championship game, just a stellar performance. 20 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. And then obviously maybe the most electric player there this weekend, KJ Torbert, another Michigan State son of Kelvin Torbert, just a mutant, like hyper athletic. It's amazing. Some of the plays he had the play of the weekend on an alley-oop dunk. He had another finish where he crow hopped and jumped like 5 feet to his right to lay it up and in. To me, he reminds me a lot of Keon Coleman, where it's like, hey, this guy's a super athlete. He's going to have some fun playing basketball. If I'm Jonathan Smith and I'm Tom Izzo, I'm like, let's get this guy to come play both sports, and he's going to be an NFL wide receiver someday. That's where I see him going. Just a freaking superb athlete. And then their sophomore, they had a kid, quote unquote, their secret weapon, Kingston Thomas, also played a great game for East Lansing. East Lansing just top to bottom, just a solid squad, obviously.
Fun to watch.
He had 19 points and 12 rebounds and fun to watch. Just good basketball, high-flying dunks, just impressive. Real quick, Wayne Memorial, on the other hand, just didn't have the horses to keep up with East Lansing. Their best player is Carlos Medlock Jr. He's got 11 D1 offers and can fill it up, but it's a tough task when you got 3 or 4 super athletes on the other side that they can just rotate and keep throwing different bodies at you that are fresh. So East Lansing, very impressive team. All right, moving on to D3. I mentioned Riverview, Gabriel Richard. This was a fun high school basketball team. I just really liked how they played, man. Just 5 damn good players from top to bottom, led by Wayne State commit Luke Westerdale, point guard, just scoring supreme. I mean, he's Gabriel Richard's all-time leading scorer. Just a solid guard. Didn't turn the ball over at all. Can score, can create, can pass. Just a damn good high school point guard, really at any level. He finished with 17 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and just a good talker, smart kid, memorable. In an interview we did with him a couple different times at their semifinal and after the final, just a good speaker. So I was impressed with him. They only played 6 guys. They have another kid named Charles Cage who's going to Saginaw Valley State, play basketball, 18 points, 11 rebounds, 7 of 8 shooting. Just another solid player. And then I noticed maybe my favorite player of the weekend was this kid, Drew Everingham. This guy was dunking everything. I'm not kidding you. I think he had 5 alley-oop dunks at the Breslin Center. He's going to pitch at Western Michigan University for baseball. Hit 2 big-time threes, left-handed. Just another solid player. You go to the Breslin and you look around and you realize, man, to really win that state title, it gets siloed down so much. You got to be one damn good team. And that was Riverview Gabriel Richard. Just from top to bottom, very solid. Just one quick shout out to the team they played. Arts and Tech of Pontiac had one stud freshman named Lewis Lovejoy. Kid had 40 combined points in the semifinal and the final. We're going to be hearing from this kid again. I mean, he was impressive. True freshman, standing toe-to-toe really with a pretty damn good Riverview Gabriel Richard team. He'll be back, probably scoring 30-plus points at the Breslin in the years to come, I would imagine. All right, last one. Sorry, talking a lot. Game of the weekend. Really was the only one that was close at all. I was really impressed with Summit Academy, who stood toe-to-toe with Warren Lincoln, who a lot of people would say is the best team maybe in the entire state. Played very well. I mean, think about this for Romulus Summit, a team that's been to the Breslin a couple years in a row. They've had 3 head coaches in 3 years. So how do you think about if you're working at your everyday job and you have 3 bosses in 3 years, let alone a basketball coach that you got to change philosophy and structure and all that. So I just was impressed with how they came out and played. Derek Clark was their head coach. I thought he did a great job. It's funny. You listen to these huddles and it's kind of amazing the access we get where you're hearing game on the line. You're hearing what they're saying in these huddles. It's pretty cool. But you find out also with that, you find out pretty quick who's a good coach and who's maybe not the best coach. And I was really impressed with Derek Clark of Romulus Summit Academy. But Warren Lincoln, this, my friends, is just a memorable high school basketball team from top to bottom. They're starting with their point guard, Moses, quote unquote, the General Blackwell, 5'6", lightning quick. Tim McCormick called him the fastest player he's ever seen at the Breslin Center for high school. And he's not lying. The kid, great handle, leader, clutch. I love watching Warren Lincoln play. They only had 10 total turnovers at the Breslin Center. Think about that for a high school game. I swear every high school game I watch, it's like 15 to 20 turnovers per team. They had 10 over the course of 2 games. And that's been 2 years in a row now where they went back to back and you watch them play and you're like, this is how basketball is supposed to be played. Obviously, on top of that, they have this brother, Marcus Blackwell, Eastern Illinois commit, just a supreme scorer, scores all 3 levels. He's very impressive as well. And then they had this kid come in from Oak Park. This is a public school, maybe pulling a private school move. Gian Hutchins from Oak Park. He's committed to Northern Iowa. So you take this state champion Warren Lincoln team, let's just throw in a Northern Iowa commit and let's see how much better you guys get next year. So just a fun weekend. The games weren't the best, but Warren Lincoln, that's a memorable squad from top to bottom that will be missed, back-to-back champions. So did anything stand out to you guys on the weekend?
Well, I tuned in mostly for the Fowler game, and Wyoming Tri-Unity. I was impressed. Obviously, they're very good, but I loved their philosophy. They just played clamp down defense, and Fowler could get nothing going. So that's what I took away from the weekend. I did have a question for you before Matt jumps in, if you had a chance to see any of it. But what were your specific duties for
So I was basically, it's like so I was doing a little bit of everything. So technically, I guess assistant producer is the title.
Mm-hmm.
I was shooting bus arrivals, team getting off the bus. I'm helping with sponsors. I edited a little tease for it that Matt Shepard voiced, edited a halftime feature about the best finishes. So kind of a little bit of everything, honestly. Now I'm off this weekend because of my brother's wedding, but I love working the high school finals, man. Basketball, football, I get a kick out of it, and I'm a nerd for that, but I really do. And
Breslin, I don't know how you stack it up compared to Chrysler, but it's just a great setup, especially if you're a media member and can go underneath the stands, check out everything, right. and at floor level, man, it is so awesome.
Yeah. I think it's the best, man. Chrysler, I haven't been to Chrysler. I went in high school like one time. It just doesn't have that juice that the Breslin does. Maybe that's just because of the fans that we associate with the Breslin and the success that Michigan State basketball's had. But it's not the same in terms of, it's just right that the high school finals are there. It just seems right. So
It's definitely a cool weekend. It's one of those too that, like, if you're just a casual high school basketball fan or something, it's a cool weekend to go. Just go. I mean, there's going to be some star players, some really good teams. Just go sit at Breslin, watch some games, eat some popcorn, enjoy the day.
Yeah. And back in my younger days, I always made a day of it with my buddies, the semifinal, Class A semifinals, and go watch those two games and then grab a bite to eat afterwards. That was a great tradition. And now that I'm retired, I'm thinking about restarting that up, because why not? Just go hang out there for the 4 best teams in Class A. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, that Friday is the best day, in my opinion. And we had good games on Friday, man, in the D2 and D1. So, I mean, probably the game of the weekend, which is Orchard Lake versus East Lansing, was a good one. And then, GR Grand Rapids, I think it was, Catholic Central, I believe. Catholic Central actually played Warren Lincoln pretty damn tough.
Right.
Led really late into that semifinal game. So, good basketball all around, man. It's 4 divisions is the right amount for our high school sports. I mean,
I think so too.
You get the right matchups. You see the best teams. The best team won in every division, in my opinion.
To wrap up this prep spotlight in girls basketball, they take center stage this coming weekend at the Bres. But locally here in the regionals, New Lothrop picked up a regional opening win over Hemlock, 43-38. Ashland Orr had 18-10 in that. And then they followed up with a tough loss to, we talked about this school a little earlier, Lumen Christi, 39-34. And Ashland Orr had 18-8 in that one. So congrats to the Hornets. They've got a lot of players coming back for next year on girls basketball, so we'll be hearing more about them. Okay, that's the Prep Spotlight presented by Jacobs Insurance, and we'll talk a little March Madness. Our Spartans, our Wolverines are in the dance, differing locations and bracket draws. We'll talk about that right after this. All right, guys, who wants to start? I mean, it was great seeing the selection show, and immediately I think all 3 of our thoughts were, well, Michigan State got a pretty good draw and Michigan got ripped. It didn't matter. They won the Big Ten tournament at all.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the biggest, at least on the social media airwaves, one of the biggest debates after the weekend was, does the Big Ten tournament mean anything? And there's a lot of people trying to downplay Michigan's accomplishment, or even downplay Michigan State getting knocked out early as the number 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament. And I mean, there's a lot of debate back and forth. And I don't know how you guys feel about it. I mean, I can kind of see 2 sides. Does it mean anything? Clearly, like you just kind of laid out, Ted, the selection committee showed that when it comes to, at least this year, when it comes to the NCAA tournament, the bracket, I don't think they really look much at the Big Ten tournament. And I don't know if that's because the championship game isn't played until, basically when the brackets are released, is when the Big Ten tournament championship is being crowned. The game goes right up until that selection show. So I don't know if that plays in or what. But with Michigan running the table in the Big Ten tournament and winning, beating the teams that they did and playing the way that they did, you would think that that would have helped their seed. They would have maybe played themselves up, maybe even into a 3 seed. But when the brackets came out and they were at the 5, it was kind of like, okay, clearly you had this bracket decided on Saturday night. Once Florida won, once Auburn went down and Florida won, it was like, all right, cool. Brackets are decided. There's not going to be much shaken out. And so on that side of it, yes, I can see people making the argument that the Big Ten tournament, quote unquote, doesn't matter. I do think, had things shaken out a little differently, Michigan State could have played themselves into a 1 seed. A lot of people were saying that if Florida and Auburn got knocked out early and Michigan State made a run and won the championship, I think they could have played themselves into a 1 seed. So, but once Michigan State went down, like I said, and once Florida won, it was basically, all right, this is kind of decided. So in that sense, yes, I can see, yes, Big Ten tournament doesn't matter. I think the Big Ten needs to adjust and play their championship on a Saturday. I think they need to move it up like some other, like other conferences do. Finish your conference tournament on Saturday. Let that maybe actually, play into the selection show and just be done with it that way. The other side of it, real quick, people, and it's mostly opposing fans, and, whether it's Michigan State fans, Ohio State fans, Illinois fans, whoever, saying that the Big Ten tournament doesn't matter, to me is just kind of goofy, because it's like, you're just saying that because your team didn't win. And I would say to the players, to the coaches, to the fans, to the program, all that, the Big Ten tournament does matter. It is a good accomplishment. Why do you have to take the accomplishment of a team and say, like, the regular season championship means way more than the tournament? Just like celebrate both. Like, yeah, the regular season, yeah, it's a long haul. You won the regular season championship. It's also cool to win the tournament. Why can't we say both is cool? Why can't we say that, yeah, you guys won the tournament championship? Great. We won the regular season championship? Great. Both are different. Both are cool. Why do we have to say like one legit doesn't matter? If you want to say it doesn't matter to the selection committee, okay, I can understand that argument. But to say it doesn't matter, like fans don't care, it doesn't matter in the big picture, the players don't care. Tell Dusty May that it doesn't matter. Tell the players, cutting down the nets, that it doesn't matter. I think it really does matter. And to act like it doesn't. And I would say I'd be curious to hear Tom Izzo's answer. I mean, is he mad that they lost that game? I bet you he would have loved to win and, hang a banner for a Big Ten tournament. So I just think it's funny when you see that argument back and forth between, rival fans, like, who cares that you guys won the Big Ten tournament? It doesn't matter, I think it's just because you're salty that you lost.
Well, the reason that it mattered to me is because, just to try and twist the knife on a state fan, the second they win, it's like, hey, we each get to hang a banner. Here's the thing: it neither really matter anymore, because these conference tournaments have ruined it. Mm-hmm. They've ruined the regular season title. Now it's like there's 2 titles per year per conference. Right. And let's just talk about the selection committee. What the hell are they doing? What, these games are being played. Everyone's in these tournaments. Why are we acting like they don't matter? What are we talking about? They're the most recent games before the tournament. The seeding, I mean, we could bitch. Here's what I've realized. Think about it. Every year teams get shafted. The mid-major that just missed out, on the bubble. We just move on with our life. We forget about it. This F's people up for a lifetime, man. Michigan just totally shafted. Should be probably a 3 seed. Oh, here's your reward. You just played 4 games in 4 days or whatever. They played 2 games in 2 days. Now let's fly you to Denver. Let's match you up with a diabolical 12 seed and put you in basically a region of death. Can people do their job? How hard is it to delay, to either the Big Ten commissioner needs to move this game to a Saturday, or the NCAA as a whole needs to figure out this bracketology shit? I mean, we're talking about North Carolina. What is going? And I remember thinking the same thing with Michigan in the college football playoff. Why is Ward Manuel on this board? This makes no sense. North Carolina's got a athletic director who gets $100K bonus, brand new Bentley, whatever he wants to buy with it, if they make the tournament.
And he's the chairman of the committee.
He walked out of the room. Who cares? What are you going to do? Second, he walks back in the room. Hey, sorry, Bubba. We cut North Carolina. See you later, 100K. What are we talking about?
Right.
How is this how we do things? And how do we just blatantly ignore games? Michigan has beat Wisconsin twice this year. And most recently, a few days before the tournament, they're 2 higher seeds up on us. They're a 3 seed. We're a 5 seed. It's freaking sad, man. I mean, what do you guys think? Don't you think that the conference tournament is almost ruining everything? It is the big time accomplishment, but the selection committee isn't even acknowledging it. Right. And it's taking away from the regular season title to the point where I feel like it's almost mitigating both, making both of them meaningless. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's gotten to be a bit out of control. And the one thing is, the conference tournaments were set up to create extra excitement, extra money. For the smaller conferences, it's pretty cool because then they win that tournament, they get the automatic seed, which always confused me anyway. But because let's face it, maybe we all agree, maybe we don't. But if you look at the Big Ten, and again, I'm wearing my Spartan hat, but they won it by 3 games. The regular season champion is the champion of the league. Right. Michigan is the tournament champion. I mean, it's that simple the way I look at it.
I mean, and that's how it's labeled too, right? Yeah. I mean, Michigan's the Big Ten tournament champion and Michigan State's the regular season champion. But, my one, I guess, counter, it's not really a counter to that.
Let me jump in real quick. I would throw out the regular season and the title. Michigan State is the Big Ten champion. That's how I would say it.
Yeah, and almost not even say anything about the tournament.
No, Michigan State, it's hard to, the Big Ten champion. Michigan is the tournament champion.
Right. The committee, I care about it. I was loving that game. The way Michigan answered the bell after that state drubbing, it's impressive.
Yes.
But how am I supposed to make this a big deal when the goddamn committee isn't even They already have everything set before the game's even tipped.
Right.
It doesn't even make sense, man.
That's the flaw.
It's a big-time flaw.
Yeah, the one counter I was going to bring up when people say about, not saying you were saying this, Ted, but that the regular season means more than that tournament. Well, I don't know if the regular season does mean more, because as Jared, you just laid out and people have laid out, Michigan had a better regular season than Wisconsin, a better regular season than Purdue,
You're right.
a better regular season than a team like Kentucky, and all those teams are seated ahead of them. So does the regular season really matter more? Because Michigan's sitting there with the 4th most quad 1 wins in the whole country, and they're a 5 seed. So if you're going to tell me that the regular season means more, the body of work over a 3-4 month regular season, I don't know. It doesn't seem to, because Michigan's sitting there at a 5 seed. And I'm not saying they should be the overall number 1 seed. Because we all know that they definitely had a slip there towards the end of the season. So it's just, it's not perfect. The college football playoff committee, they get a ton of, criticism for the way that they do it. At least the conference championship games in football actually play into the selection committee in football. Like, if you're the number 1 seed, say Oregon this year in the Big Ten, and you went to that conference championship game and lost, that would have affected your seeding, in the college football playoff. So it does actually come into play. It's not perfect again, but right. This 100% shows the Big Ten tournament with the selection committee doesn't matter at all. The one thing that does suck, I do agree, Ted, the mid-majors, those smaller conferences with that automatic bid, that, yeah, for sure, that makes their conference tournament mean a lot. You win the conference tournament, you get in. When it sucks is when there's a bid steal. When a team like High Point wins and a team like Winthrop, then that kind of shows the body of work of the regular season didn't even matter.
You're right.
We were the number 1 seed. We were the best team in the conference all season. We slipped up 1 game in the tournament, lost our bid. How does that make sense? So that's where it's a little bit of a broken system.
It doesn't. And that's the thing, like, because of the stupid system, who knows how many Cinderellas we never got to know. Think about, now here's what's almost the other side of it is Oakland last year. They had like a heartbreaking loss, and they lost the regular season title. And think about how magical that team was. They ended up winning the conference tournament. They make it. It goes both ways. But it's just just an overall system breakdown. And we love shitting on the college football playoff from time to time. It's 10 times a better system than whatever the heck this selection committee is doing.
Well, it's also too
blatantly ignoring games. I've never heard that in my life.
Yeah, it's also too, not to cut you off, Jared, but it just popped into my head that the SEC getting 14 teams.
Jeez.
And I obviously am employed. I work, watch a lot of SEC basketball.
Yeah, what are we doing?
There should not be 14 SEC teams in the tournament. Like, what are we doing? Yes, it'll be really cool if we get Coach Cal versus Rick Pitino in round 2, but Arkansas should not be in the tournament. They did not have a good regular season. I don't know, their Ken Palm, I don't know some of their other metrics, but they should not be in the tournament, maybe over some of these mid-majors, some of these, smaller schools that did have good regular seasons. 14 SEC teams is absolutely insane. Kentucky being a 3 seed is bonkers to me. Now, who knows? Maybe they get hot and they make an Elite 8 run. You never know. But when I saw that, people at work were like, "Oh, record 14 SEC schools." I was like, "This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous."
Yeah, and it's like, dude, maybe it's the hater in me. I am fading the SEC. I just parachute into the sport, right around March every year. 14 teams are in. What the hell am I missing? So now I'm like, okay. Think about the SEC. They're not even winning the football title. When they got all the resources, all the talent, all the NIL, now they're getting 14 in for a basketball. I am fading them at every turn. UConn's going to beat Florida round 2. I don't even know what the other ones are. I'll probably be wrong, but that's me just like taking a stand. I can't stand it. 14 teams. Listen, I get it's a good league. It's a damn good league. I'm not going to argue that. Best league in college basketball. 14 teams and you have a losing record in your conference.
Right.
You're not worthy. Think about the private public school. Are you worthy of being a champion? Mike Krzyzewski? No. If you're 14th in this SEC conference, you're not worthy of a champion, man. You're not worthy of the tournament, in my opinion. I don't care what you did out of the conference back in November, which is apparently more important than what was played a day before the tournament starts. It's like, what are we doing? What do you guys make of UC San Diego? As I mentioned, it's a diabolical 12. you almost got to laugh at how hard they shafted Michigan. It's almost like they hate Dusty May or something. I don't know, man. It's so goddamn dumb how they set this up. You got UC San Diego, who is like the perfect foil to Michigan. They don't turn the ball over. They turn the other team over a zillion times. They space you out. They're very, efficient in how they play. It's the perfect little mid-major that I'd love to pick in an upset. What do you make of Michigan? To me, it's either they're going to make it to the Final Four or they're going to lose this game by 10 and be done night number 1. How do you guys feel about Michigan?
I'm not sure I know right at the moment. I mean,
yeah.
Is it going to be the end of the regular season Wolverines, or is it going to be the tournament champion Wolverines? I tend to think they'll do all right. I'm a little concerned about the big guys getting up and down the court in Denver. They need to get out there and get acclimated to that mile-high atmosphere. And, you better not take that team they're playing for granted. I mean, 30 wins, I don't care what conference you're in. Yeah. You're going to be good. So
30 wins.
I'm a little bit leery, to be honest.
Well, and it's that daunted 12 versus 5 matchup that we always know about. Like there's always that upset. No, when Michigan was winning and the selection show was about to happen, I was like, all right, I'll see what kind of seed they get. Hopefully they get, somewhere local, Midwest-ish. Hopefully they get a Friday game. I was like, hopefully this kind of helps them out. Nope. They get a 5 seed in Denver playing on Thursday. I was like, this is the worst possible thing ever. And 10 o'clock at night. Right. So it's like 10 o'clock Eastern, so like, this is really like the worst possible thing ever. And, it is what it is. You got to go out there and win. You can complain all you want. Dusty May basically said, like, you can only control what you can control. That's the message he's going to sell. We got to win regardless. If we're worthy of being national champions, we got to beat whoever is in front of us. So obviously that's the message he's going to sell. But no, you're right, Jared. I mean, the turnover thing is obviously big. We've been talking about it with Michigan all year. They turned the ball over like crazy. They did a little better this weekend in Indianapolis, at the tournament. So hopefully maybe they found something there. I'm hoping, that the size advantage is big. Yeah. UC San Diego basically only plays guys that are like 6'8" and below. Yeah. So hopefully Danny Wolf, even Cheddar, Cheddar's, a solid player, a solid college basketball player. And then obviously Golden. Hopefully that's the advantage. Dump it down low, go through the big guys, control your turnovers, and
play the 3 together more. They did do that in that championship game. I love it.
Yep. Yeah. You can have Cheddar kind of running around setting screens. Yeah. Danny Wolf and Golden work. Yeah, that's the lineup to me. Just get through this team and move on and see who you got in round 2.
So Michigan's only a 2.5-point favorite over UC San Diego. I think the only other line I know off the top of my head, I think UConn is like a 4.5-point favorite in the 8 versus 9 matchup. So think about how this is a 5 seed. Right. This is your reward. We're giving you this demon of a team that's everything you're not. To me, it's coming down to Danny Wolf. He had some big time moments in the second half of that Wisconsin championship game. We need him at his best. Hopefully that unlocks something. We need him, at right around the 20 points per game for the entire tournament. We need him right around 7-10 rebounds, 7-10 assists. He needs to be that guy if we're going to make a run. And especially in this game, think about a team where let's use your advantage, man. We got 2 7-footers, like you said, Matt, nobody over 6'8" in their rotation. It's going to come down to, are they going to shoot us out of the gym, or are we really going to be able to bully them down low? So it's a matchup that you love in March Madness. It's a fun game. It's going to be an awesome game.
It's going to be an awesome game. And the one other nugget working against Michigan, this is UC San Diego's first ever tournament appearance in their first ever year being eligible for the tournament. Geez. So I mean, they're going to be, their fans are going to be right. They're going to be bonkers there. So, all right. Dusty May, what you got?
Yeah. What did you guys make of? And then State, on the other hand, I guess one thing I just want to throw out. This guy seems electric, man. Get ready to learn this guy's name. I can't even know how to pronounce it. But for UC San Diego, I don't wanna Tate Jones from New Zealand. He's like their stud, 20 points per game. Came from Hawaii, Hilo or something. I don't even know what I was reading about this guy's like. I don't even know what I'm reading, but I know this. He's going to be dynamic. He's going to be fun to watch.
But anyway, you know what you did read. 20 points per game. That's what you read.
Yeah, and from New Zealand and 6'6" guard. I'm like, oh, this guy is so mid-major and March Madness Euro written all over him. But Michigan State, I mean, talk about the exact opposite. What a draw. They're in Cleveland. They play Marquette. Potentially Marquette. I actually think New Mexico would have a better chance at beating Michigan State in round number 2 than Marquette. we saw these roles reversed when Marquette was a 2 seed and State was a 7 seed, or maybe even a 10 seed a couple years ago, and State just bodied a manhandle. I watched Tyler Kolek, Big East Player of the Year, literally be unplayable in that game. Michigan State's going to roll to Sweet 16. Maybe I'm trying to jinx them, but to me, when I saw that, I was like, of all the 1s and 2 seeds, I almost think they have the easiest route, man. It seems like they're destined to Sweet 16 and then see what happens after that.
Yeah. I mean, they have Auburn on that side of the bracket, so they may end up with them if they get by the first 2 games. Is Steve Alford, is he the head coach at New Mexico, or am I
Richard Pitino.
Oh, Richard Pitino.
Yeah,
okay.
Pitino. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they were talking about the potential matchup with him and MSU.
That'll be fun. And then did he transfer from Yale?
Yeah.
So possibly Yale, if they get by A&M, it'd be a reunion for him in round 2.
And we're talking about how brutal this region was. From what I understand, Texas A&M is like the opposite of UC San Diego, where they have 7-footers galore and they can size up. So it's like, again, I almost tip my cap to the committee. They grabbed a dagger and shoved it right into Michigan's gullet and said, "Good luck." Hopefully, they gladiatored them. Russell Crowe right before the tournament's about to take place, and Joaquin Phoenix goes behind him and stabs him in the back. That's what happened here. But if you guys are good, you'll overcome it. But what the F are we doing?
I mean, the one thing that I hold on to is Buzz Williams and Texas A&M. They usually have a decent team, but they always come up short. So that's my kind of one thing. Hopefully that's the game. Round 2, Michigan just figures out a way to get past them. But I mean, honestly, I'm with you. I think Michigan State's gonna get to the Sweet 16, no problem. But Bryant is a pretty solid team that could maybe give them a little trouble. I think it could be one of those second half. It's like a 3-point game, and you're sitting there like, oh, geez, what's about to happen? And then Michigan State kind of pulls away. But Bryant is a solid team. I mean, I think they're like top 10 in the nation in scoring and a couple other things. So
it's interesting you mentioned that about second half, because you're right. It could be close in the first half, but this is second half Spartans, man. They have really turned it on in the second half of games this season.
No, if I had to guess, it'll be it's like that's exactly how I see the game playing out. Maybe Michigan State's leading by 2 at halftime. You're starting to get a little nervous, and then they go on maybe a 10-0 run and end up winning by 15 or something like that. But no, that's what makes March Madness even better than it's ever been. These underdogs can win these ball games, man. Right. They are not the cakewalk they used to be. So it's you can't expect Michigan State to just roll them. Like, it's going to be a tough game. These all are.
And before we move on, it's early still. We're on Tuesday, so we probably haven't had a chance to digest the brackets completely. But do you guys have some initial thoughts on what you're thinking to look for in the tournament, maybe heading to the Final Four?
I mean, I think if Cooper Flagg is healthy, he rolled his ankle, sprained his ankle in the ACC tournament for Duke. Cooper Flagg's the number 1 pick. He's going to be the number 1 pick in the NBA next year. I mean, he's probably going to be Player of the Year. He's really the overall best player in the country. Yeah. If he is healthy for Duke, I really do think this is a Final Four team for Duke. But we've also seen Duke, really, really good teams, come up short in the tournament too. But I mean, Cooper Flagg's are so good and they've got a couple of the really good players. If he's healthy, I would almost pencil in. I would still pencil in. I don't think the overall number 1 seed Auburn, I've watched them enough to know, Janai Broome is their best player, and he might be Player of the Year if Cooper Flagg isn't. He's really, really good, but he's also had a lot of games where he's not good. And Auburn, they're a solid team. They're the overall number 1 seed for a reason, but they stumbled at the end of the season too because teams kind of figured them out. So I'm not high. I'm more high on Florida than I am on Auburn. I don't see it with Auburn. Bruce Pearl, kind of same thing. He comes up short a lot in the tournament. He's great coach, but I don't see it with Auburn. And then I'm kind of how you were, Jared, with the SEC, basically saying don't buy in. I'm not buying anyone in the Big Ten.
I'm not either. I'm going to say that too.
Michigan State to the Sweet 16, and then we'll see what the matchups are. I mean, I'm hoping Michigan can make it to the second weekend. It'd be cool to see that Elite 8 Michigan State matchup. But no, I'm not very high on anyone in the Big Ten. I don't know why.
The only teams that always exceed expectations is former Pac-12 team Oregon. I love Oregon to make it to the Sweet 16 just because every year they make the tournament. I always pick against them, and they always win a couple games. Dana Altman's just a hell of a coach. Yeah. But I'm with you. I'm fading the Big Ten hard. High Point, they're gonna be Purdue. Grand Canyon, they're going to beat Maryland. Like
Illinois,
is going to lose round 1 in that 6-11 game versus the play-in. Like these middle tier Big Ten teams that the college basketball, quote unquote elitists have been telling me how good they are all year. Oh, Wisconsin can score it now. When the chips were down against Michigan, that's not even a superb Michigan team. They couldn't put the ball through the rim, man. I watched the entire game on Sunday. Couldn't put the ball through the rim. You think they're going to go on some run because they have an identity crisis? No. If anything, that makes me more worried about Wisconsin, that they're having this identity change. But to me, you usually don't go wrong fading the Big Ten, betting on the ACC, and then in the past betting on the Pac-12, which now is the UCLA's, the Oregons, the Arizonas of the world. So
and there's usually
a fun one, man. But in terms of picking a champion, it hasn't come to me an epiphany yet. I'm not sure who it'll be.
Yeah, me neither. I'm just kind of looking forward to. I don't know if it'll happen because we know Michigan got the screw in the draw, but an Elite Eight matchup with MSU, that'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah,
yeah, that'd be great. I mean, but we know what would happen if Michigan beat Michigan State in the Elite Eight. They would tell us it doesn't matter because the only thing that matters is the regular season. Right?
I might have to argue that one.
I will say, and when we were laughing about this last week. Maybe we talked about it in the pod or not. Like, I mean, dude, how it is a Big Ten title. It's important. Like, what's a Big Ten title that matters? It's if you're like a crappy team. I don't know, like Illinois, or Maryland, or these teams that don't win it every year. Michigan State wins this damn thing every damn year, it feels like. Right. I know it's been 5 years since their last one, but like, I worry if they maybe put a little too much juice into that, and now we're seeing maybe they're not playing their best ball right now. I don't know.
Do you think, Ted, the resident Spartan basketball fan on our do you think the loss in the Big Ten tournament was good for Michigan State?
I don't think it hurt them. Let's put it that way. I mean, they ran into one red hot guy with 32 points, and Wisconsin, let's face it, they just wore out with that extra game against Michigan. I think that was a factor, but no, I don't think it hurt Michigan State. I think they're fine. I think they'll regroup. They have that extra practice time. And if they get by their first game, watch them to roll to the Final Four. At least I'm not changing my prediction on that.
Yeah.
And we know, like we thought they were playing for a 1 seed if they won the Big Ten tournament. Now we saw with Michigan, it didn't even matter. Right. Michigan playing these damn games, and I think it was important for Michigan. They feel confident rolling into the tournament.
Yes,
but like the fact that State wouldn't have got rewarded anyway. It's like, how do you look at it and say, oh, this really affected them? Like they just got a couple extra days of rest. It just was silly, man.
Well, one bright spot for Michigan was Donaldson. I mean, they really needed to have somebody step up at guard play, and now he's going to be playing with supreme confidence. So you put him with the bigs. Watch out, Wolverines could make some noise for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys kind of just said, in Kaysen, the freshman came in, number 2. He got some big minutes in the tournament and built some confidence. So I'm kind of going down. I think they need to go down with Golden. I think he's their biggest advantage. Wolf is a good player. Donaldson, like you said, he's a good player. But Golden, I think, is the biggest advantage they have. I'd be fine if at the end of the game we see the box score and Golden has 22 field goal attempts. Just go down to him, and he does get kick it out. He can pass a little bit, so I'm going through Golden. He takes you as far as you're gonna go.
Sounds good. Let's go. March Madness, baby.
MSU. I mean, Jason Richardson. That dude's a stud. Michigan fans hope that he goes one and done and goes pro, because if he comes back next year, I think he's Big Ten Player of the Year.
And to me, I still didn't really get a full answer on it. So what the hell happened at the end of the Michigan State-Wisconsin game? Why? And this is why I'd be nervous if I was a State fan. Game on the line, conference tournament on the line. At the time, we thought maybe a potential 1 seed on the line. The ball's in Jeremy Fear's hands, like making decisions. What the hell is going on? Is that really what happened there?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, that's what, as a fan just watching, I don't know if there was something, if there was a reason.
So to me, Jace Richardson needs to ascend to another level. If they're gonna if they're really gonna do this, they need that go-to guy, and it needs to be him making those decisions down the stretch, because you see what happens when it isn't him. Shit goes awry. So
he was in a little foul trouble late in that game, but you're right.
I didn't watch. Like, I just was reading headlines about him. Like, wait, why is the ball in this dude's hand? Why is he, trying to? I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I just parachuted in, saw the headline, watched the clip of him, quote unquote, getting fouled, not getting fouled, and that was it. So,
well, it all starts tonight. First four, the ever popular North Carolina going to be in action the next night or so. So it should be fun to watch for sure.
You know what's funny about North Carolina? They are definitely going to go on a run. Like that play-in is such an advantage if you can win it. You feel good. You feel confident. You get the jitters out of the way for that first round game. Like they're going to go on a run for sure. Believe me, I'm taking them to the Sweet 16. I don't think they necessarily deserve the chance, but they got the chance, so they're going to make the most of it.
Tradition, baby.
Yeah,
that's it. All right, let's wrap up this podcast with a little Tedertainment Tonight right after this. All right, guys, I guess I'll jump in. Sometimes I'll watch a show that has been out a while, and a friend of mine mentioned it to us to watch this one. It's called Bates Motel. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see that at all. It's a takeoff on the movie Psycho. It's 5 seasons. The star is Freddie Highmore. He's known for The Good Doctor. I don't know if you watch that show at all, but he plays Norman Bates to a T. It's pretty amazing. And his mom in the show, Vera Farmiga, she plays Norma Bates, but it's a good spinoff. It's like a modern day prequel to the movie Psycho, and you can watch it on Amazon Prime. The first 4 seasons completely different with the same characters. Then it sets up season 5, which is really close to the movie Psycho. So if you're looking for something to watch, a series, you can turn the brain power off for a while.
Right.
It's a pretty good show, Bates Motel on Prime. And the other thing,
and that show's all done, right? Like it's
done. Yeah. I mean, it came out, I think, in 2013. That's what I mean about an older series, but you just come across some of these things sometimes and it sucks. You know how it sucks you in. After every episode, there's some kind of mystery. So it's pretty good. I'd say 2.5 on the 3-point scale. And then Jared will love this one. I talked about it a couple pods ago, but I finally watched the entire OJ American Manhunt on Netflix. And I got to tell you, I looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes. It was 100% and 90%. It's 4 parts, 4 basically 1-hour parts. The titles are The Blood, The Search, The Circus, and The Verdict. I mean, it was probably the best OJ series that I've seen as far as documentary. There was a lot of
better than the 30 for 30.
The 30 for 30 was really good. That was more of a straight documentary, basically. This one had a lot of behind the scenes stuff that you didn't see before. They had a lot of interview stuff with Mark Furman. Of course, he's the guy, the crooked cop.
Yeah.
And then Christopher Darden, the assistant prosecutor, he had a lot of takes. So I thought I would not see something that would give me more information, but this was really good. If you're an OJ follower from way back when and checking these documentaries out, this was really well done on Netflix. It's worth a watch.
That was the whole sell of this one, right? Different footage, different interviews, different, right.
A lot of evidence didn't make the trial that you're made aware of, that if they would have had that, I mean, there was so much blood evidence, it was ridiculous, but just better lawyers,
Better lawyers. And wasn't, I mean, not to, I mean, at this point, there's no like you're blowing any spoiler alerts or anything like that. But wasn't there stuff with the blood? Like there was tampering with all the evidence, and there wasn't certain technology that we obviously have now.
That was definitely part of the argument, and they had so much film and stuff on it. The collection of the evidence at the crime scene was huge. They botched that, and then, like I said, when Furman said he didn't use the N-word, and then they pull out a tape, with him using it left and right. Right. And then the glove not fitting, terrible decision by Darden to have him try on the glove that's all wilted and, crinkled up from blood on it.
Right.
Totally botched it,
Blundered it.
Blundered it all the way. So, but it was still fascinating to me. I can't believe that there was some new information that I wasn't aware of. So I recommend it. Netflix, 4 parts.
4 parts, what, an hour each?
About an hour each, and then the last episode was 90 minutes to wrap it all up. Yep.
That's worth it.
Yep.
Again, I do think, I know Jared rolls his eyes all the time at the OJ stuff. I do think that's a generational thing. I mean, if there's people who are just big into, true crime or whatever, they probably still like it. But, not saying you don't get it, Jared. I'm not like saying that, but like
he doesn't get it.
If you weren't around then, I mean, I was young, but I remember it vividly. it's something like if you were alive when that was happening, it's insane how it captivated not just the country, the world.
Speaking of generations, while we're on that real quick, Jared, what's the lifetime event in your lifetime that you point to that is a milestone? Like there's 9/11, there's the Kennedy assassination for me when I was a little kid. The OJ thing probably right to the top of the list as far as interest and media coverage.
I mean, so I was only, I don't even know if I was 2 years old by the time 9/11 happened. So that's not, I wouldn't consider that. I mean, to be honest, it's been the last, 4 to 8 years of the presidential, debate and like, to be honest, it's been the whole Trump thing. I feel like that's been the biggest. I mean, how big that was in November was, and it still is huge right now, obviously. But that was a big time moment in terms of, my lifetime and something like that. I don't know. I mean, tell me if there's anything I'm missing. That seems to be the big thing in the last 25 years or so.
Yeah, good point. Like Matt just said, COVID.
Yeah. Oh yeah, COVID. Exactly. COVID that's the right answer. It's COVID. So no, I'll throw my little Tedertainment out there real quick. I mentioned it, maybe 3-4 weeks ago. I really do think it's the best show on television right now. White Lotus on Max. They just had episode 5 of this third season. All of a sudden Sam Rockwell comes out of nowhere in this episode, and the scene's been going viral all over Twitter, even if you watch the show or don't. It's a wild one. It's a good one. Him and Walton Goggins, just a funny little duo that I'm glad Mike White, the director, said, let's get these dudes together. Like, this is going to be dynamic. So this upcoming episode, which will be number 6, seems to be what this whole season has led up to. I feel like it's really going to be which, quote unquote shit hits the fan. And then there'll be the fallout, in the last couple episodes of the season. But if you haven't been watching this show, I don't know. It's just so good to me. I can't imagine somebody not liking it, honestly. And now's the time to get in and binge it. Up before this upcoming episode this Sunday, because I think it's really going to be a big time one.
Yeah, that's on my agenda right now. Now that you got 5 or 6 episodes in, I'm ready to start checking it out because I hate waiting week to week.
Right. No, I know you guys know that I don't like to jump in on shows too late, but my wife and I were talking about, like, what are we, something to watch. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to get into this one because I've seen other people. I've heard your reviews, Jared. I've seen some clips and, heard some other people say how good it is. And we're only 2.5 seasons behind.
Right.
So it's like, all right,
we need to in a week. You've been through it, man. It's mystery. It's murder. It's, every actor and actress is good looking. That's always a bonus. I'm not going to complain about that.
Right.
It just to me is just a perfect show, man.
Each season standalone too, which is good.
With some slight crossover, like there's usually a character that will be on for 2 seasons or so. Mm-hmm. Uncle Rico is in every season. I don't even know what that actor's name, but he's a classic. His name's Gary in the show, or Greg. Yeah. He's got 2 names.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't recommend anything more, to be honest.
Yeah. I think we're definitely going to get into that one. We're still keeping up with 1923. I don't know, Ted, if you've been keeping up or.
Nope, I'm in the same boat. I'm going to start tuning into that now too, that I can stack up a few.
Yeah. And this season, I think I've said it before on this. Yellowstone obviously is the standard of this, I guess, series. But 1923 is fantastic with Harrison Ford and all the other actors and actresses in it. The storyline is great. All these shows kind of have 2 or 3 different little storylines that they follow. And each one in this season is, I don't know, it just grips you. It's, dramatic or whatever. The one thing, it's fantastic. Like, period, end of statement. It's a great series. The one thing we say sometimes that is playing against it, they're obviously trying to build up the drama and how can the Duttons keep the ranch? Well, we know because of Yellowstone that they do keep the ranch. Correct. So that's kind of like the one thing is like, they're obviously building the drama. There's like this big battle or there's, something's going to go down in 1923. But we know that the Duttons obviously come out on top because Yellowstone is this thing, the original series. So that's the one thing that takes away a little bit from, what's going to happen. I guess we don't know, what characters maybe get killed or, what happens with some of the other characters, but that takes away a little bit from the drama. But overall, 1923 is fantastic. We watched a stand-up also on Hulu. I kept seeing the promos and I kept hearing the promos and stuff. So I was like, all right, let's check this out. And I like Bill Burr, the comedian.
Oh, yeah.
He's funny. I've seen a couple of his stand-ups and I've seen, some of his movies and some other stuff. But he put out a new stand-up special on Hulu. It's called Drop Dead Years. And so I was like, yeah, let's watch this. It's only like an hour long. And like I said, I like his comedy. It's good. It's kind of one of those, like, you have to like his style of comedy to really get it. And yeah, if you like his comedy, it's funny. He talks about stuff he's going through, I guess, in his older years or whatever, and makes some jokes about certain things. He definitely doesn't hold back on the language he uses. So if you're not a fan of that, you probably wouldn't like it. But no, like I said, an hour long. If you like Bill Burr, it's worth a watch.
Sounds good. I'm going to check that out. I know my wife sometimes listens to the comedy channel on her Sirius radio in the car, and she's always talking about him. He's pretty funny. I like him. I like his style.
Funny. Yeah, he's funny. And you might like it too because of some of the jokes that he tells. Talking about the older years or whatever of his life. So.
All right. Well,
he had a wild moment, Bill Burr. I guess it's even worth saying, but I'll say it anyway. He had a wild moment on like Howie Mandel's show or something. All of a sudden, I don't remember who the musician was, but he has like a long lost brother that's like a famous musician or something. Let me see if I can.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I saw that. I saw that on TikTok or some social media site. Yeah, he got all pissed off, didn't he? It was kind of
I don't
caught off guard.
I'll try to find out who it is, but that was it. That was all I had. Bill Burr. Yeah, I like Bill Burr too. King of Staten Island's a good flick with him and Pete Davidson. I like them both in that.
Oh yeah, that's good.
All right. Well, let's before I officially wrap up this podcast, first of all, Jared, I understand you got your hotel money back. You got that squared away.
Yeah,
for our listeners that are curious.
Finally, it came through after about 2 weeks. So I'm getting geared up for the wedding, man. I got to pick up my suit. I got my suit back, and my pant legs were like literally like past my toes, like how long. So that got tweaked. So I'm picking up the final suit Thursday. So it's coming up quick, man. It was Billy Corrigan, his half brother.
That's it.
Okay.
So, yeah, it just was. Yeah.
He's a rock singer, right? He's
I think. I don't know.
Yeah, he is definitely. And by the way, we're on YouTube, we're on video. Looks like you've done pretty well on your weight loss. Did your pants fit in the waist?
Yeah, they did. But here, with this past weekend of work, man, I had like a whatever it was, 16 or 17 hour day. I did get pizza on Saturday night, so. I'm trying to do a good solid week leading up to the wedding. It'll be tough once March Madness rolls around in a couple days. But,
I was gonna say you gotta keep the momentum going now.
Yeah,
you've got the progress. All right, have one weekend. It's a wedding. All right, enjoy yourself. But get back on the horse. Get back to Memorial. Get back to the wellness center. Get in that sauna, steam room.
I'm heading to the gym right now after this, man. Getting that shred in. So
why are you guys looking at me? I don't know.
Have you been going? I know.
No, I've definitely been.
I know you've been busy.
I've been off the wagon. I need to get back into it for sure. So
you got to. Here's what you just got to know what pushes your buttons, man. You as soon as there was money on the line, think about how you ratcheted into shape, and it was like you need to figure out a way to get that incentive, and what pushes your buttons. So I mean, you know how it rolls.
Yeah, I hated losing out by 0.7 of a pound or whatever it was. I will say that, but I did have motivation.
Yeah. All I can picture is the Office episode where they're trying to weigh in, and Ted's on that scale, seeing that 0.7, missing out on his payday.
It was brutal. All right, let's call it a podcast, fellas. I definitely want to send a big thanks out to the good folks at Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center. Don't forget, follow them on Facebook. You can find out all kinds of great deals and what's going on up there. Maybe you'll even run into Jared or maybe even me up there once in a while. Also want to thank our other partners, AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Shook and Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, Shiawassee County Fair, and ALS of Michigan. Again, congrats to Johnny and Lauren, the big wedding coming up Saturday. Looking forward to another great family affair there. And for everybody else out there, peace and love, everybody. Be kind and good luck with your brackets.